Welcome to Decrypt, Asia's first blockchain and cryptocurrency podcast. I'm your host, Tushar. Each week, we take a deep dive into the Asian blockchain scene with investors, technologists, and industry insiders. Go to decrypt.asia to subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Telegram to join in the discussions. Welcome to the show, George.
Thanks, Tushar. Good to be here.
Before we dig into what you're building, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and your journey in the blockchain space?
Sure. My journey into blockchain actually starts many years ago in art, which is a long way from blockchain. But that was my co-founder and I started an art startup online here in Australia called Blue Thumb, and we grew that into what is now the largest online marketplace for fine art in Australia. And that was about 7 years ago. And while we're growing it, we got interested in email because it was kind of our second most important revenue and acquisition channel. And there really was a lack of tools out there that really did smart stuff with email. There's a lot of good tools for just sending kind of fairly dumb newsletters, but we were interested in sending better content, like one-to-one content. And so we ended up having to build our own tool to do this, which was another company that we spun off called Smarter Mail, that my co-founder Phil and I spun off. And so that's kind of where we got into email a fair few years ago. And yeah, we've been on this mission to improve email since then. I guess we sort of want to see email done better. It's actually the oldest kind of online communication medium, dating back about 46 years, and it hasn't really changed that much. And so we've kind of been on this mission to improve email, and concurrently we've been interested in crypto from the sidelines for many years, just kind of like casually Bitcoin holders for a couple of years, and Ether. And it was actually when we saw the Brave browser last year, where they have this idea of the attention economy and giving users of a tool like Brave actually some value back for their eyeballs if they look at an ad or click on an ad. And that whole attention economy idea really kind of resonated with us too. And we kind of had this spark of maybe we can apply that concept, but to the emails that are already being sent on our platforms. And so that's where we got to Sendy, and we started seriously scoping out what we'd build and writing our white paper in January of this year.
Interesting. So is Smarter Mail still running?
It is. It's still running, still growing. And yeah, we also have another email business called Sendy, which is a very simple email newsletter tool. And that has been around for many years, and it kind of does really nice design emails in a really simple way, and nothing much else. And both of those email companies are still running. And the advantage that gives us building Sendy is, apart from kind of, I guess, having an understanding of the space from already having built stuff on it, it does give us some scale to get Sendy out there quickly when it goes live.
Right. And so for our listeners who may not know about Smarter Mail or Sendy, could you tell us a little bit more about what your traditional businesses are?
Yeah, they're like I said, Sendy's just a kind of simple email newsletter tool. People might be familiar with competing tools out there like Campaign Monitor or MailChimp, tools like that. It's a tool, for sending email newsletters. And Smarter Mail sends, kind of like the name suggests, smart emails for e-commerce. So it plugs into e-commerce stores and it pulls in all of the e-commerce data, and it lets e-commerce stores send one-to-one emails based on a machine learning stack of recommended products for their individual customers. So that's sort of the whole idea of us trying to push email forward for the last few years has been a big problem with email, and there's big problems I'll go into a bit later with what's happening in email in general at the moment. But one problem has been content is not personalized, it's sort of boring, it's blasted out to everyone. And, people aren't engaging or opening because it's not relevant to them. Other types of marketing online have fixed this problem, and email just hasn't. And so we sort of built Smarter Mail to try and improve that, fix that problem. And Sendy takes that one step further for us as well.
But what do you think of email marketing in general? I mean, in general, my inbox has been flooded with so many things that I have absolutely no time to go through unless the content of those emails is something that is very, very interesting for me, or I'm getting a massive discount or something, or there's a massive deal going on. But, today those things can be distributed via social media platforms as well. So, since you're in the business, I'm not sure what you make of, obviously you'd be a supporter of email marketing, but do you think it still works?
The amount of spam, which is like completely untargeted or just unsolicited email is rising. And 59% of all the emails sent around the world is spam. And that's a big problem. But in general, people aren't opening email as much because of this problem with spam, but also because of there's sort of less incentive to engage in it. And so one thing that Sendy improves is that engagement piece. So as a customer, you might just say you're using Gmail to read your emails as an inbox. You notice tabs. You'll see a primary tab and a promotions tab. That promotions tab is really kind of out of sight, and the half the time, I know personally, I'm just on my primary tab. I'll go to promotions and I'll scan it for something that catches my eye. All those emails in there I've signed up for, and I do want to hear from those brands at some point, but I don't have as big an incentive to open them. And so with Sendy, we're trying to give back just a small reward for your eyeballs, for your attention, for opening those emails that you've signed up for, but you're kind of going by the wayside.
Right. And are there any other problems that exist within the email space or within the email marketing space currently, beyond what you just mentioned? You kind of touched upon a couple in what you just mentioned, but beyond that, is there anything else?
Certainly. So obviously spam rates going up is a problem. Engagement rates going down is a problem as well. And for us, the third thing is in other forms of marketing online. So if you're, for example, you're doing search engine marketing, you're buying search ads, or you're doing marketing on social, there's an equilibrium on these channels where you have to pay as a marketer an appropriate amount to reach a smaller targeted audience. It's actually quite expensive to do it. And so they've kind of got to this equilibrium with price. In email, that doesn't happen. And so you have this effect of misaligned incentives where, yes, people sign up to your email list, but they're trusting you as a marketer to send appropriately, to send them just once a week or send, the right content. But that can be abused. And some people do that. And really, sometimes they treat their subscribers like a free resource, like oxygen, and just send and send and send until they disengage or unsubscribe or hit spam. And so that kind of misalignment of incentives has never been fixed, and it's been around for the 46 years that emails existed. But what Sendy does is it puts a small price on that attention, on that engagement. So as a marketer, you pay a small loading to attach Sendy to your emails, the normal emails you're sending. But as a subscriber, when you choose to engage, when you open that email, you click, or you go and do something on their site, once you've clicked it, you're going to get a reward. You're going to get those Sendy as a reward. And what it does is it sort of realigns the incentives where the people who are giving you the value at the other end as a marketer are getting rewarded for it. And it's this kind of positive, the attention economy is the current sort of term for it. But yeah, it helps realign incentives, which has really been missing in email.
Absolutely, yeah. And so you've mentioned a couple of stakeholders that exist in your ecosystem. You mentioned the email subscriber, which is everyday people. You've got the email marketers. And the final piece is the email service providers. So you've talked about the subscribers and the marketers. Could you talk about how the service providers are going to interact with Sendy?
Sure. So they are, they are the sort of the company that you engage with as a marketer, or just say a brand. You're a brand doing email marketing. You actually can't do email marketing from a normal, say, Hotmail or Gmail account, because if you try and send more than 100 or a couple of hundred emails, you're going to get filtered and blocked. So that's why email service providers exist. They're this third-party service that help you send larger amounts of email, and you get better data back and analytics and all that stuff. And so those guys plug into Sendy. So Sendy is an API for them. And what Sendy allows them to do is to give their customers, and their customers are actually the companies or brands doing the email marketing, give their customers access to Sendy so that they can attach Sendy to their emails. And so, if I'm putting on my sort of growth hat as a, startup growth person, growing Sendy for us is not a B2C sort of growth path. It's B2B, and it is just speaking to more email service providers and getting them to integrate with the Sendy API. And we've designed Sendy to give them an incentive to want to join. There's a natural one because these companies care about open engagement rates. It's really important for them. So including Sendy should so it should give them better engagement rates naturally, which is great for them. But also there's an asset contract whenever Sendy moves around the ecosystem, and 1% is taken off as a fee, and part of that fee actually goes back to anyone who's integrated with Sendy as a sort of ongoing incentive for them to help grow the Sendy network too.
All right. Sounds good. So I'm just curious, what are the biggest email service providers today?
The biggest sort of ESP, like I mentioned, is MailChimp. And it's hard to know.
Say that again? Sorry, could you say that again?
The biggest ESP, so the biggest email service provider, is MailChimp.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And they have a significant sort of chunk of the whole email market. And incidentally, they're seemingly anti-crypto. So they've changed their T's and C's, and they have kicked off a couple of crypto senders more recently. I wouldn't say they're anti-crypto, but they've certainly, they don't seem to be actively embracing it. However, a lot of the smaller ESPs that we chat with are kind of the opposite and are really, really interested in Sendy.
All right. That's interesting. So you mentioned about the 1% fee going back to anyone who's integrated with Sendy, and I'm assuming you were talking about your token. So let's talk a little bit about the token and the role that it plays in the ecosystem. So could you elaborate? So we talked about the three stakeholders that exist. Could you elaborate on how the token actually plays a role for each of these stakeholders, and how do you align the different incentives that these three stakeholders have?
Sure. Yeah, of course. So there's a Sendy token, and that's ERC20 based on Ethereum, and that is the token that is sent around the network. So that is the token that is attached effectively to the emails that go out, and that token is earned by subscribers when they engage with emails. And at a sort of higher level, as an email marketer or a brand, for example, say I'm selling, t-shirts, I've got a t-shirt store here, and I send a blast out to my email list of 20,000 subscribers. I can choose how many Sendy to attach to that blast as a reward, and I can also choose where the reward is placed for the subscriber what action actually gets the reward. So I might want to incentivize just people opening the email and reading it, or maybe I want to incentivize them to click through to my website, or I might, just say I'm selling t-shirts, say I've got launch a new product range, and I actually want to incentivize people for when they go to the new product page. And so you can just put in a custom URL and say, this is how people will earn Sendy, and send the email. It goes to all my subscribers and say 35% open it, and 10% click it, and then 3% make it through to that new t-shirt page. Well, depending on how I've set my reward stakes, all those people, after 24 hours, we sort of calculate the engagement, and then we automatically assign those tokens to all those subscribers' hot wallets. And the one point I'd make here is that a lot of subscribers, at the moment, the two companies that we've started, they send over 1 billion emails a year. And most of the people receiving these emails are not actually going to be people who hold crypto and may not really have paid much attention apart from the odd headline here and there. And so their experience with crypto is going to be super limited. So we've designed the hot wallets and designed the whole front end of Sendy to be super simple, super user friendly, and actually not talk about crypto as much as a reward. Because a lot of people will not be familiar with crypto or hot wallets. They won't have trading accounts, but they will be familiar with some sort of reward program, airline miles, supermarkets, etc. And so that's really what our front end, our UI and UX is based around.
Right. Interesting. So especially the hot wallet bit, I would be very keen to find out how that exactly works.
Sure.
Like what would the customer journey be like of accessing this wallet?
Sure. So let's assume, Tushar, you're getting emails from a couple of different senders who are all using Sendy on their emails. You will get the normal emails you're getting from them. They won't look any different except at the bottom. And on the footer, often right now when you get a marketing email, you'll notice a logo at the bottom where it might say sent from Smarter Mail or sent from Campaign Monitor.
Yep.
And in that footer, next to the logo, it will actually have a Sendy logo with buying and a little note: by engaging with this email, you've earned Sendy. Your current balance for tushar@gmail.com is 32 Sendy. Click here to redeem. And that will be on the footer of these emails. And what that is kind of just a growth flywheel. It's the original kind of viral growth flywheel for email that happened back in the day with Hotmail. And what it gives you as a subscriber is an idea of how many Sendy you're earning, even if you haven't finished setting up your hot wallet. And you get a few more of these emails. You might see your balance going up a little bit. You click on that link. You go straight through to the hot wallet setup page where you finish setting up. Set up a password, set up two-factor authentication, and then you have a wallet with your Sendy in there. And we're still working on testing the whole sign-up setup process, but it's along the sort of all the back end is built. We're really just sort of trying to get the flow with the least amount of friction possible. So yeah.
Right. That's really interesting stuff. So the other aspect that you mentioned just a little while ago was engagement. So you mentioned that using the Sendy platform, there'll be increased engagement from the email subscribers. How do you ensure increased engagement? What if there are just bots or even just humans clicking on emails, or even like doing the actual action of going to a particular website or going to the product page just to earn tokens and not actually getting to a point of the desired action from the marketer's perspective?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And there's sort of two parts there, anticipating bots and gaming the system. Of course we anticipate that. And yeah, it's just a matter of building smarter tools to detect that. We already have subscriber scores for our two ESPs that sort of look at how people engage with how people from a certain email address engage, to try and weed out fake accounts and bots and things like that. And so it's a matter of sort of scaling that up and building out that more. And obviously they'll come with time as well, and more users on the platform, the more work will go into it. But yeah, we do have a bit of a head start on that side of things. And how do you make sure it's the right traffic, you're incentivizing the right people? So email is still, especially in the West, but around the world, is still an incredibly important marketing channel for anyone online who sort of does business or has a blog. Because what it does is it re-engages the people who already know you. And, if you've sort of been in e-commerce, you know that people who've already bought from you or subscribed from you and know you spend more, are easier to get back to your site, and are way more valuable for you than someone brand new. So any opportunity you can to re-engage the people who already know you, it is, sorry, I've got a little alarm going off here. Any opportunity or anything that re-engages the people who are already on that email list has a good value, has a real value. And yes, some people will be engaged to sort of click through just because they know they're earning Sendy, but they have still clicked through to your site, and this is real traffic and real people who signed up for your list. So yeah, there will be a little bit of sort of people perhaps, maybe I'm just going to earn some Sendy and I'll go through. But then you have these people on your site. So it's kind of, it gives you that opportunity straight away to engage them because they've gone through.
Right. So how does your current business fit into the whole ecosystem along with Sendy coming in? I mean, will there be some sort of conflict of interest, or how are you guys set up?
Yeah, it's completely arm's length. So there's sort of no crossover of ownership or anything like that. Sendy is set up as a foundation. It's not for profit, and Sendy sits above any ESP as a sort of, it's an API. It's a platform layer, and so it's a cool tool for, say, Smarter Mail, because it helps Smarter Mail with their engagement. But the whole point of Sendy is to be completely platform agnostic and to integrate with as many ESPs around the world that it can. Because, for anyone sending email marketing, better engagement is a big win. So yeah, it is arm's length from all the other stuff we've done.
All right. And where are you with your developments with Sendy currently? Any particular item on your roadmap over the next 3 to 6 months or longer?
Yeah, so we've sort of built out the back end and some of the UI on the front. It's still looking a little bit ugly, and we need to do a bunch of user testing now because we're going to have something live in market. Our MVP is actually going to be live and kicking by the end of this year. So we're kind of in heads down, polish, user testing kind of mode at the moment to get that sort of version 0.1 out live and attached to emails.
All right, that sounds great. So before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to mention that we may not have talked about in the last half an hour or so?
Yeah. I'll just mention the fact that we're kind of opening up a pre-sale for the Sendy token sale. So if you're interested, if you like the idea of kind of moving email forward, which we're pretty passionate about, just check out the website, go to sendy.network or jump on our Telegram and check it out.
All right. Awesome. I guess that's a good note to end the interview on. Well, thank you, George, for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Tusha. Thanks a lot for having me. And hopefully I'll see you at Consensus.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Like us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Telegram, and subscribe to our newsletter on Decrypt.asia. This is your host, Tushar. Thank you for listening.